Now, I talked at the start of the program about the cost of living crisis that many federal politicians seem to think doesn't exist. I mean, there they are in Canberra this week slapping each other on the back. Federal Parliament's up. They're going to take 8 weeks off now. They won't be back until February. But in Victoria, the Victorian government the Parliament it'll sit into the first week of December. And I think on December 9, the Premier Jacinta Allan has set aside another apology to Indigenous Victorians for the impact of colonial settlement. I'm not sure about how many times this needs to happen. I mean, Daniel Andrews did it. Kevin Rudd apologised in Canberra, as we know. And there's increasing anger about this. I mean, OK, we've got a treaty. We always knew it was going to be a problem. But why don't you do what we want you to do? Fix up the potholed roads and stop this renewable craziness that's going on. Victorian Nationals leader Danny O'Brien joins us. He says Premier Jacinta Allan's own seat of Bendigo East could be a target. Danny, welcome. Good to see you again.
Good evening, Steve and listeners.
Have you got your candidate for Bendigo East yet?
Not locked in yet, Steve, but we certainly will be having a red-hot crack at the seat of Bendigo East, the Premier's own seat, next year. We had a fantastic result with Andrew Lethlean, our federal candidate at the federal election earlier this year, with a 10% swing against the tide of what happened across the nation. We think that the Nationals have got a really strong showing in a regional seat like Bendigo, and absolutely we're keen to put the Premier to the blowtorch.
The margin's what, around 15?
Around about 11, I think, for the Premier. And so it's a tough ask, there's no question, to defeat someone who's been there, will have been there for 27 years, been Premier for the last couple. But we think there's a mood for change right across regional Victoria, and certainly in Bendigo we saw that in the federal election, and Andrew Lethlean was a great candidate there. We're certainly talking to him, and we hope that he might have a future with our party as well, but we'll be certainly putting up a strong showing in the Premier's own seat.
Jacinta Allan, what has she delivered actually for regional and rural Victorian communities since she came to power? I mean, Daniel Andrews tried to convince regional Victorians that he was in love with them and he was going to put the Commonwealth Games in all of these places, Bendigo, Ballarat, Shepparton, etc., and then reneged and cost a fortune to get rid of the games, but not even stage them. Do regional Victorians get sick and tired about this constant talk about all these massive infrastructure projects for Melbourne, but nothing for the bush?
Oh, absolutely, Steve. We've seen, $50 billion of blowouts on the big projects in Melbourne. And look, some of those projects needed to happen. Some of the level crossings and the like are worthy projects, but it's the mismanagement of them and the massive blowouts that we've seen that have added to our debt and to the cost of interest that we're all experiencing at the time when regional Victorians literally are driving around on goat tracks. We've got terrible roads, we've got a housing crisis, we've got unaffordable housing. We literally heard this week that rental affordability is worse in regional Victoria than it is in Melbourne. We can't get an ambulance to turn up when it's needed, and we've got a big new emergency services tax for the pleasure of it, a new $3 billion tax that is particularly going to hit farmers and regional Victorians, and that's an issue that people are angry about, and certainly one that I think will be in front of mind when people head to the polls next year.
I live part-time in Melbourne, but I don't even know where the Metro Tunnel goes to or from and whether I'll ever use it. I mean, it might be a wonderful, shiny new piece of infrastructure, but what exactly does it do? I mean, it bypasses the old city loop, I understand that, but they built this massive brand new station opposite the Shrine of Remembrance. Who gets on and off trains there?
Well, there may well be people in Melbourne, but it's certainly not going to be of great benefit for regional Victoria. And the Premier has tried to spin that a number of times with both the Metro Tunnel, but also with the Suburban Rail Loop, which is, probably a minimum $50 billion project. Even the government acknowledges it's at least $34.5 billion. These are big projects for the city that will rarely have much benefit for regional Victorians, and we're crying out for infrastructure investment, whether it's in our roads, whether it's in our hospitals. We've had train line upgrades over the last 10 years, mostly funded by the former coalition federal government, and they still haven't delivered additional services or benefits to us as yet. So these are some of the things that we're waiting to see actually benefits for us in regional Victoria, because so much of the money's just been spent in Melbourne and nothing happening beyond the tram tracks.
People with long memories like you and I, Danny, would warn the Premier, perhaps you wouldn't, but someone ought to warn her that One Jeff Kennett lost an election in Victoria when he was hugely popular, and he lost it because he ignored country people.
Yeah, and look, I was a journo like you at the time, Steve, and I remember it well, interviewing some of the candidates in places, regional seats in 1999. And absolutely, it's an issue that the government should be aware of. There's discontent in rural areas. I think there's growing discontent even in the regional cities over the lack of attention and also over the mismanagement. As I said, we're heading for $29 million a day in interest payments under this government. Imagine what that can do for schools, for hospitals, for roads, for investment in police. Crime is just such a massive issue, not just restricted to machete attacks and home invasions in Melbourne. These things are happening in regional towns in my electorate as well. And that's a real issue that we could be addressing if we weren't spending so much money on Labor's interest bill.
100%. Danny, good to catch up with you. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining us.